Fabulous workshop. Thank you so much for joining us to this wonderful workshop that we have for you today with Professor Carlee Gosser, who developed and ran the Grow With Me Learning Center for 6 years at the San Diego State College area. It was a mixed stage 0 to 5 learning environment that utilized an indoor and outdoor open classroom design. Carlee created the Where Play Becomes Real philosophy, which encompassed 4 main cornerstones of building early childhood brains, relationships, environment and experiences, attunement, and learning. Here to tell us more about her journey and her experiences as an entrepreneur and an educator herself, here is Carlee Gosser.
Hi, everyone. Welcome tonight. I see some familiar names and pictures, so thank you for joining us once again. Let me find my share button. All right, so yes, we are going to talk about my favorite thing, my childcare center. I have actually been closed since 2018. We'll get through. It was a hard decision to close, but it was the best for me at that moment. But I did begin it in 2012. And so we'll go through my whole journey and everything with you guys tonight. So please feel free to ask questions in the chat, raise hands. We'll do our best to answer them on the fly. There'll be a couple interactive questions for you guys if you want to respond verbally or via chat, any way works, but I'd love to hopefully see and hear from you guys as well tonight. So here is this is one of my last pictures of the families that I had helped raise over the 6 years that I ran my school. We would do a picnic every summer at the end of the year to kind of just share in what we had experienced. And this was our alumni picnic. So mostly everybody who was there over the past 6 years came in back in one way or another to share in that day with us. So my school, I said, my philosophy was where play became real or becomes real, because that is the philosophy I believed in. With children, I am very much a relationship, social, emotional based philosophy, and I'll explore how I got to that from my career here in early childhood. So we'll start with my journey. I was born and raised in Sherman Oaks, California, which is part of Los Angeles. So I am a born and bred Valley girl, which is very important to know, I think, in understanding my journey here. So, but at 11 years old, there was an American Red Cross babysitting course, and I was really into the Babysitters Club at this point. So I was like, yes, I'm going to take this course. I can go and get get paid, right? I can tell you that 11, 12 years old, I was probably making $10 an hour as a babysitter. Right? That was LA at that point, but still not much has changed in early childhood since then. But I do believe that was very funny. My pay scale hasn't moved that much in so many years. But for the next 29 years, I have been an early childhood caregiver in some way or another. Basically nannying throughout most of my high school career, working in schools. When I went to college, I went and got my bachelor's in science in early childhood education from Indiana University. It was either that or going to be a script supervisor. So, right, really 2 different career choices. And I went to Indiana, and coming from LA, I fell in love with the campus, and I fell in love with this early childhood program. I had never really heard about it before. I knew I was kind of going to be a teacher, but it was a program that was specifically for working with children from 0 to 8 years old. And it was a highly intensive program where I spent 5 semesters with weekly practicums and then a year and a half of student teaching for 12 to 15 weeks as a lead teacher. And I was in very small towns in Indiana, Bloomington. I went and did a semester abroad in a very, very small town in Bungoma, Kenya. So I got to even be a little more immersed in what it's like to really have nature-based education, because the supplies really in Africa are nature all around you. Then I came back and worked in a very small town called Gosport, Indiana, where they had one stoplight. So these are the kinds of things. So you can see me coming from California, Los Angeles, going through to Indiana, and then Kenya, and even smaller parts of Indiana. That's really shaped a very wide perspective of early childhood and experiences. And I even realized as I was writing this, when I was in my preschool days, my parents sent me, I had two working parents in the 80s. So I went to childcare very early, right? So I was in a place called Babies, and then I was in a home-based preschool called Farm School. And I didn't realize this until right as I was working on this. I was like, wow, you really talk about your early experiences shaping your life. And this is why I'm doing what I do, right? I love outdoor education. And I think it's because I was in these kind of environments from day one. So, well, I will keep going with my long story here, but, oh, sorry, we're not going. So then I was a permanent sub for a year and a half at Gosport Elementary, again, very, very small town, Indiana. I moved back to California, taught for a year in Irvine, and then decided to come start my master's here in San Diego. I actually started at State in elementary education and was going to go then into early childhood education for special ed. And there's each classes that I took, I learned really great things that's actually helped me become a better early childhood educator, even from elementary education. And I ended up getting sick and had to postpone some of my grad school time. And it was actually a blessing in disguise because State was able to then reopen the child development master's program. It had been closed for so many years. So they were able to start that. And I was able to go through that as well. But I got a job first, as a master teacher of their child at State's Child Development Center. And I worked there for over 5 years. While I was doing that, I was getting my master's. And so with the early childhood or the elementary education, I learned to, even though it was math geared for, second graders, I learned to take the concepts of teaching 2- and 3-year-olds the word quadrilateral to describe a square and a rectangle. And there is nothing cuter than 2-year-olds learning to say quadrilateral, right? But you're exposing them to these really higher concepts, and it just gets them thinking that. So when they get to geometry, and these concepts are so much harder for elementary school, we have embraced it in early childhood. So we're building that foundation for them already. So, and again, then going into child development, we had a specialized program, which was the EC-CBRIS program, which stood for Early Childhood Emotional Behavior Regulation Intervention Specialist, right? That was actually something we had to learn how to say because everybody just called it by the acronym. So we had to learn how to really express what it was. So it was a social emotional program. I learned about attachment theory and how to really work with children and learn about attunement. And when you are more in tuned and attached with these children, you can start to see them more as human beings, not just children we are teaching, right? We are seeing them as young humans and that we are building their brains and we are helping them create the foundation for them becoming adults, right? This is where it all comes from. So then after that, I became a YMCA caregiver, ARNET caregiver interaction scale assessor. So I would go out to childcares around the county and I would complete this ARNET caregiver interaction scale and help work and recommend recommendations for teachers on how to be a little more in tune and create that more social emotional atmosphere in their classroom and seeing the child as a whole child and as an individual within a larger class community and how to support that. So then once I was done with my master's program, I really wanted to go into a program where I could really get my philosophy of how I believe children to be taught. And so the only way I was going to be able to do that, I know, was starting my own school. So I took the leap and opened up a family child care. I was lucky enough that I was able to convert half of my home to it, and we'll see that progresses through the next couple of slides. But it was a mixed age classroom, and it just, we're going to go into it and talk about some more, but there's so much things that I learned and grew from there. And to be honest, I didn't even realize what a great program I had while I was doing it because I was so immersed in just trying to run it. And when you're able to take that step back and reflect, you're able to see the value, more of the value that you brought to these young children's lives. When I closed my school, I became an adjunct for Miramar. I've been there since 2018. I recently was a First Steps first 5 First Steps home visitor supervisor. So I've been helping support immigrant refugee families with home visitors to go out in their homes and work with moms that are prenatal through 3 years old and help them learn basic child development skills, help do assessments with them, but really help give parent mom support during these first 3 years of these children's lives. And then I did a small Grow With Me 2.0. My own daughter, was a kindergartner in COVID. So she was supposed to start kindergarten in fall of 2020. And that became 30-minute Zoom sessions for once or twice a week. And so I started an outdoor kindergarten for her and a few of her friends for a year and had a wonderful time with that. And then ended up for the past 2 years, I've been here working at the Miramar Child Development Center in one way or another. So that's my career, right? It's been up and down, different, right? Early childhood, your career can look in so many different ways and how you're going to get there. But just knowing that every step you go through has given you some kind of great learning piece and a tool that you'll keep in your toolbox for wherever you go next. So some of the things we're going to learn and talk about here, these are kind of all of our encompassing things, but what we're going to focus on is your why and the philosophy. Why do you want to do this, right? What you might need, your environment, some of the supports you might need, where are you going to begin? What do we do to get ready to open? Once you're up and running, what happens? Are there resources? Reflection, redesign, right? Always looking at yourself and seeing how can you do better, right? What are you comfortable asking parents for with recommendations on how you can do better? All those different kind of things we will get into. So again, please, if you have any other questions, please raise your hand or feel free to interrupt me at any time. But I do want to ask first, what is your why? So if you're sitting in this presentation, I'm hoping you have some maybe in the back of your head, you're thinking, I want to do this. So why do you want to do it, right? And that's why do you want to go out on your own? So what is your why? Does somebody have a reason why they might want to go on their own or why they're just even exploring, thinking about going out on their own? Am I seeing the chat? I've not seen anybody yet wanting to share. Okay, maybe you don't know your why yet. That's okay, right? But this is what we're going to talk about because in order to really grow a family childcare, you have to know why you want to do it. This is going to be a job that is very rewarding. You are going to love what you do, but it is going to be hard work. But you get to work from home. You can do, you get to have a lot of flexibility, but you're going to work hard at it. So really knowing why you want to do this, right? So it's kind of think, what do you know already? What do you know? What's your early childhood education knowledge? How much core classes have you taken? Do you know how to run a classroom, let alone a whole business, right? Have you ever thought about running a business? Do you know any information about what it takes to run a business? Then what does it take? Do you know anything about what it takes to run a business out of your home, right? Remember, our homes are our personal spaces. We go to work so we can come home and have our space. When you are working in your home, you may not have that same kind of boundary. So are you ready for that? What is it going to be like? Those kinds of things you will have to explore, making sure you're ready for that commitment. Some of the things we need to know, right? We're going to go over licensing rules and regulations. We'll talk about some other programmatic supports, YMCA Child Care Resource Services. They have a lot of great supports to help. This food program, child care food programs, tax rules and regulations and requirements, right? None of us know all these things off the top of our head. And I can tell you when I first started, I knew nothing, right? I did not have a EEE program to help me. But so these are all these things I had to research on my own, but they're really important. And I was sharing, if I can take my video off blur for a second. I was sharing with Kyoka and Angela earlier, like I still have my binder. I created a binder from day one. Right? My license is in here. This was my go-to. If licensing ever showed up, this was my go-to. But in here, I would have, right, licensing info. Then I would have all the enrollment paperwork that licensing needed just in a loop sleeve, ready to go. So that if I had anything last minute, I didn't have to go to my computer and print it out. I had some extra copies here. I was prepared. I was always taught to have a binder, right? You always want to have a licensing binder, easy for you to go. It's where my information would go, where all of my my health checks, my immunizations, everything you need to know, where my staff files would go to. And this was also great. If you ever had a sub, you could kind of give them, hey, here's the book, right? There you go. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of prep to get, and I didn't have this, right? This was something I worked on and grew with over time, because you're not going to be full right away when you first start your own childcare. It's going to take time to build it up. So you will have days where you have 1 or 2 children to start, right? But you will take that time and be able to work. We'll go over a little bit of contracts and handbooks and some insurances, right? We don't think about all these extra additives and things that we need in prep, because your contracts and your handbooks are going to become your Bible, right? You are going to want to make sure you stand by those. Then again, we're going to talk about, really, are you ready for this responsibility? Are you ready for maintaining the health and safety of children, your facilities, your house, right? The maintenance and repairs. Are you prepared for a child to break a window in your home because they kicked a soccer ball too hard, right? All these little things you kind of have to realize, what are you going to be doing? Who's going to be taking care of that for you? Who is your support? Are you going to have time for it, right? Staff, do you want to take on an extra staff member? Do you want it to be yourself? Do you want it to be your significant other, right? Do you have, we'll see the licensing guidelines, so you'll laugh at when you see, like, your staff could be a 14-year-old child, right? So there's a lot of leeway with family childcare, but it's just still making sure you are still ultimately responsible for the children in your care. And how do you feel about your staff? And if you were to leave your home for 20 minutes, do you feel confident with your staff being there? And all those things, right? This is still your home. These are still, to me, they were always my babies in my home. I wanted to make sure they were safe and there. So then taxes, right? There's so many things I didn't know about taxes. Well, then you can start, the first year you're going to have schedule and losses, right? Because you're going to be doing all this startup and it's really, really great. And you're going to really do well. You may not make a lot of money, but taxes are going to be so key, because it's going to look like you make no money, but you're going to get the returns back because you invest in your house and your business. Food prep too, right? What are you going to do for food? Are you going to be cooking it? Are you going to have parent supplies? Like, how are you going to cook it? How are you going to maintain supervising children cooking, right? What does all this stuff look like? There's a lot of questions, not just saying, okay, I just want to take care of kids and run in my home. Let's go again, sorry. Right, and my most piece of advice that I'm going to give it to you with your why, and the things we'll continue to talk about throughout this presentation, is you want to learn to make it work for you. That's the biggest thing I can help you take away from this, because when I first started, I didn't make it work for me. I made it work for parents because I wanted to get my enrollment up. I wanted to get my name out there. I didn't make it work for me. And we'll talk about those things that I've learned from that. But because this is a full-time commitment for your home, right? Are you prepared to have people in your home, right? We work 40 hours a week outside of our home. You're going to be working 40-hour weeks inside of your home, plus cleaning, plus all that. Are you prepared for that, right? And again, making sure you stick to your policies and procedures you set. You are the boss. You stick to them. If you have the guidance I was always given, if you're not going to withhold that policy or that procedure that you put in your handbook, don't have it in your handbook then. Right? You want to make sure you have the things that you're going to set, right? That you will do, because if not, you are going to have parents that will take advantage of your kindness. And we, as early childhood educators, have immense amounts of kindness, right? We want to make sure the children are happy, so we will do whatever it takes. But I will tell you, that is a big investment on yourself. So really make sure you think about yourself in this, right? So in that, what is your program about? What is your philosophy? What's going to be your teaching style, right? These are all things to come up with before we even begin. Are you going to use a play-based child directed, or are you going to be more academic? Are you going to use themes? Are you going to use emergent curriculum? What's your schedule look like for your day? Are you going to have, are you open from 6:30 to 6:30? Are you, what does it look like for you guys, right? This is important for you to figure out, because that's going to make how you run your day. Do you want to do full day, part day, mixed day schedules, drop-in care? Remember, you're going to be the one enrolling everybody. You're going to get to decide, well, do I want to take somebody for 2 days a week and leave 3 days a week open and not get that 5-day a week payment, right? These are all the things and topics that you'll have to figure out in making sure what you want to do. Are you going to have supply anything here for, or are you going to have parents supply things? Are you going to include diapers? Are you going to include meals? Are you going to include all of that in your fee schedule, right? And I don't even think I put anything here about even fees, right? You have to think about your fees. What do you want to charge? You have to do the research on what is the average cost of childcare where I live? What is it for a family childcare versus center-based care? And we are trying to, with my program here, I really wanted to elevate family childcare. I believe family childcare is just as intense as, or not intense, is just as valuable as being in a preschool, right? There's no difference. This isn't a learning environment. This is a high quality early childhood learning environment. I want family childcares to be able to get away from the stigma of we just babysit in our home and children watch TV. Like I really want that out of it. There was no real electronics in my center. So you want to make sure you're really setting that up for what your program's about. So with my program, I remember being very frustrated as a teacher in a large childcare center that parents would forget diapers because we relied on parents bringing the diapers. So I knew that was something I wanted to take off parents' hands, because no matter what, if a parent forgot diapers, guess who still had to have diapers in the house? Me, right? No matter what, I had to have an emergency set because parents may have forgotten. So I decided I was just going to include that as part of my fee. So I calculated that in. How much would I be spending on diapers and this and that? So I started thinking about those things. If I'm preparing the food, you can charge more because you're grocery shopping. You're doing that. But then again, you're the one grocery shopping. You're the one spending the weekends doing that extra time. So again, thinking about those policies and procedures. What's your sick policy? Are you going to allow children to come back when they're sick? I have had parents that really test that. Well, I sent a kid home at 11:45 one day with a fever, and at 11:45 the next day they were at the door dropping the child off, right? We all know those families and you have those people do it, but really, is that what's best for the child? And so if you're trying to make these child-centered programs and things, you get to be in control of that, right? And I was able to stand my ground and I said, well, they have to be ready for lunch and then they're going to have to go to nap. Right? I don't have the ability as a family child care provider, you don't have the ability to often do one-on-one care like you might have in a center when some children are napping or not. It just depends. So all those kinds of things you really need to think about. What are you going to enforce? Then think about calendars and vacations. I was pre-pandemic. In this world of post-pandemic, we have the control as early childhood educators now. I was so afraid to take a vacation day. I was so afraid to have days off. You know what that does to me? That ruins me, right? Parents would have days off and they'd still send their kids to me. We as educators need those days off too. So don't be afraid to put that time in and make it part of your schedule. Say, we close for a month in summer, right? We all know parents now will figure it out, right? Back in the day, we didn't really think so. We all as caregivers were like, oh my God, we got to help them. They're going to leave our center if they don't want to come for the summer, right? And you're also going to have families that are going to be like, hey, I only want to come till May. Can you save my spot until August, right? But you as a businesswoman are losing money during that time because you're holding a spot. So you then have to decide, okay, am I making them pay for holding their spot, or do I give it up? Do I enroll somebody else? How much do you get paid while you're on vacation, right? You as an educator still deserve a 2-week vacation paid, right? We deserve sick time paid, but when you work for yourself, you don't think you deserve it. But plan it in, plan that vacation and the fee schedule as part of that. So you do get your 2 weeks vacation paid. Because, or when parents want to be like, well, you're closed for this month, so can't I get a reimbursement or can't I get that back? And I'm like, well, do you go on a vacation for 2 weeks and not have to pay your mortgage? Right? I didn't use my house for 2 weeks, but you still have, right? And we've been so afraid as early childhood educators to stand that ground, but we really have to as a community of early child educators. We have to show our worth and what we are valued, and we do deserve the same things that people get at office jobs. So really, what is it that you value in early childhood education? And so these are the things that I valued. When I came from a large center, I wanted to have a nap room, because I really struggled with when children would spend 15 to 20 minutes at the last 15 to 20 minutes of playtime building this ginormous block sculpture or this really cool play scene, right? And I would have to be teacher directed and say, okay, we need to break it down because we need to set up nap mats, right? I wanted a place where children could come and leave their play. Because as we know in early childhood, at 3 years old, that animalism and, the Toy Story, that where they think their toys are still playing, right? So when they went in for nap, they would have their toys laid out so they would think the toys are still playing while they're at nap time, and they could come back out and the scene would still be there. It doesn't look like anything to us, but to these children, their imagination was still going. And it allowed them to have a space for them to be able to be messy and have that. We still talked about cleaning up when they were done with it, but I wanted to give them that opportunity and not always be me directed. So that's where I came up with the Grow With Me Learning Center, where play becomes real, right? When you're thinking about your program, you kind of want to have your elevator pitch. And so my elevator pitch was where play becomes real. I believe in a play-based curriculum where we work on the relationships, the experiences, and the environment. We're attuned to the children, and that's going to produce the learning, right? And a lot of this real philosophy came from conversations in grad school where we were trying to get parents to understand what was important about early childhood education. And we wanted them to focus on time and relationships and slowing down and really focusing on what the children are saying and displaying, and not just our adult, let's go get your shoes on, fast mentality, right? Helping them slow down and realize this. So that was what I was able to give them, because that's what I wanted. So you can see these children playing with a hose, right? Sitting there playing with the water, having that immersive experience. I gave it where I didn't have a set schedule really for the day besides meal times, because I was part of the food program. So I had to have meals at certain times. But if we wanted to spend 3 hours outside in the morning, we would spend 3 hours outside in the morning, right? I was able to articulate that, have my policies, my procedures, knew that's who I was, and I could support that to the families and know that they were coming to me because that's what I wanted, or that's what I was important or valued. So that's why you're going to have to express to parents why they want to come to your school. It's that you want to know they want to be there for the right reasons. So we talk about what I think is really important here about education, right? You will see in the next slides that family childcares don't need a lot of education in early childhood. Really, anybody, no permits, nothing, can open up a family childcare. But again, we're trying to elevate it as a community, and we're trying to elevate family childcare's perception. So I would honestly think about making sure you have an associate degree as a site supervisor. This is the programs that we offer here at Miramar. This is one of our programs, and this is just specifically on early childhood education, right? You still need to have 60 units for an associate, but I would recommend at least, right? We are working in early childhood to try and get our teachers to have bachelors, right? We want to. And if you're going to be working in your own school, you're going to want to make sure you've done program planning and you've been in some supervision and you've learned how to work with adults, because adults are very different than working with children. So those are important things for you to have, right? So what do you know, that early childhood education there, right? So things to start a business. And I will barely go into some of this because I think the entrepreneurial program and the business end is going to have so much better. And again, I did this all based on my own. So I could be telling you very wrong advice, and I don't want to fully give you that. But some of the things I had to learn about starting a business: get a tax ID. We as family child cares can use our social security number because we will be licensed originally by our last names. And you just have to be, my name could have just been Gosser, Carlee, Family Child Care. I didn't want that to be my family childcare name. That is what generic you can use. But because I wanted to change my name to Grow With Me Learning Center, I got my tax ID so I didn't have to give families my social security number for taxes when they fill out their childcare provider information. And then you have to also post your name in the newspaper. You have to make a declaration that you are a new business. So you have to contact San Diego Tribune if you're here locally. And again, I don't know what that is processed now, because I was doing this back almost 10 years ago, but I'm sure there's some way that we have to get it notified that you are a new business starting. Think about, where are you going to advertise? I didn't have a lot of money to spend on advertising. I did not have a lot of startup money. I advertised for free on Yelp for pretty much all of my 6 years. That is where I got it. I was word of mouth and Yelp, and that was it. So Yelp is a great, easy first resource. I think we were talking with the entrepreneur program about using Google Business. So I know that that's another great way to get started, but use those free references. I mean, it still says when you look up a map of my school and my house, there's a little dot that says Grow With Me Learning Center. That's forever. My address will be known as that in Google World. And it still brings a joy to my heart, right? First year tax support, right? You need to know that you will probably have some Schedule Cs. You will not be doing taxes normally like you would if you've just had a regular 9-to-5 job. It's going to cost a little bit more because you have more documents to do. You're going to itemize your areas. You don't have to necessarily itemize every single receipt and turn that in, but you will have it down as a spreadsheet. And there's a great local tax people here in San Diego that's specific in family childcare. One of them is located down here in the college area in La Mesa. So if you ever get into that and need some help, we have people around that can help you. Also, starting a visit, you need to know your budget. What do you need to bring in every month? What's going to go out every month? And how much do you have for your startup, right? It's not easy. How much toys do you need? What can you get? Where do you go? All those things. Who's going to help support you with that? So then really starting the business, starting that family childcare, you're also going to need liability insurance or you may not, but then you have to have all your parents sign an affidavit saying you have no liability insurance and they're at your own risk, right? So again, are you going to want to pay for that every month, versus other things? What about just the running the day-to-day, as we've touched on? What are your times? What's going to happen when you need to go to the bathroom, right? These are things, if you're running this business by yourself, you're going to need to think, what happens when? What happens when you have that major emergency and you have one child who just fell and needs care and you've got 2 other children fighting, right? What are you going to do? How are you going to deal with some of these logistics? And hopefully you've had some experience in a center before to know, but you're still going to come with these things on your own. You'll be prepared for the unexpected. So what you'll need to know. So here's to first start, if you really are, research and observe other family childcares. Most providers are very willing to let you come in and observe, talk with you. I luckily had some people that I was able to talk to knowledge with and answer any of my questions. I'm here at Miramar. If you guys ever have any questions, I love to share my knowledge of early childhood because I really loved having a family childcare. It really was the greatest. So, but really before you even start, know your licensing regulations. I came from a state-based program at state where I came from a very regimented large family childcare rules. You go to a family childcare and it's very different. It's very relaxed, right? Here's our licensee qualifications to own your own family childcare. You need to be 18 years or older. You need to live in the home. You need to have a TB test with no criminal record. You need to take 16 hours of health and safety, and that is it. Not once is there mentioned you need child development units, right? This is all anybody needs to open a family child. You can only do a small family childcare to start if you have not worked in a childcare center before or you have to show 1 year experience of that. So even I had that 1 year of experience, I still started as a small family childcare because I knew I did not want to take more than 6 kids, and we'll get to capacity next too. But so there are some lot of great resources for you guys out there, and I will make sure that I didn't get to put a page together for it, but I'll make sure that we can get these out to you guys because really there's some great programs that make this very simple. I shouldn't have to redo the wheel, right? You can go and see how to become, did you see the webpage pop up, Kyoka? Okay, perfect. So right, here's how to become licensed. Do I need a license? Register. This is the CommuniCare licensing divisions for California. So if you're outside of California, you'll need to look it up for your own state. But within California, here's what you go. Here's your fact sheet. Here's your provider requirements. That's this page I already had up on the PowerPoint for you, right? 18 years old and live in the home, TB test, right? The capacity we'll talk about. Some other resources and things that you will have to do. You will go through a mandated reporter training. You will have to do the pediatric first aid, TB test, the 16-hour preventative health. But this page will be able to help guide you along. Then we also have the Title 22 Family Childcare Regulations. This is your, it's not going to open. That is your Bible, right? This is going to be the document you reread over and over and over again about licensing and what your requirements are. You will go back to this over and over and over again when you have a question. You will be reading it over and over. I cannot stress it enough. And again, coming from a large childcare center, a family Title II regulations are very different. They don't have the same specifications of outdoor recommendations and things like that. So if you want to take that time and read it, I'm sorry, I can't pull it up right now, but it's there for you guys. So the links again are capacity, health and safety codes, and some forms. So all these links will be able to take you to the documents, hopefully. Here we go, this one. Here's the health and safety codes that you'll need to know, right? It'll talk with you about how to provide the licensing. Many of these things are very similar to what you'll read in the regulations, but they have all information on your health and safety rules. There's another link we got to the forms. Licensing, community care licensing is great about, it's actually even better now than it was when I first started. Their webpage and stuff for support. Here's community care licensing. Most of your licensing forms that you will need are here and here. Make it very easy for you to find them. Their information can support you in any way, shape, or form. There is a really wonderful guy named Todd Copeland. He has a child care business series of books that are very easy to read. He does tax preps. He's got a website, but his stuff got me through mostly everything I needed to learn, right? He'd be a great supplemental for the EEE program because I didn't have somebody to help with marketing. He had a book on marketing. He had a book on everything. He had a book on taxes. He has a tax planning workbook and a calendar. So keeping track of my payments and taxes, all of that was really well done because I had that support with him. So I highly recommend if you're thinking about him to look at his books. YMCA Child Care Resource, they have resources services. They have support for people who want to open up their family childcare. They have this huge initiative project going on right now where helping get licensed providers and helping even with grants and contracts to build your program. So you might already have a program now and they want to help you grow it because you want to take on infants or anything like that. That's out there for you for support right now. So California's got a lot of great resources. But really, to become a community care licensee, you or a family child care operator, you need to go to attend a licensing orientation. I think it's about a 3-hour Zoom session, not too hard. You'll learn just some of the basics of what you need to know. You complete your health and safety training, that's 16 hours. You complete a mandated reporter training, and then you submit your licensing application, you get your criminal check through LiveScan, and then you pass your home inspection. So they will come out and look at your facilities. So when you are designing your application, you will have a facility sketch, you will have all your emergency exits, you'll have all the plans that they need for you so that when they observe your area, they see that it's safe. You'll want to make sure everything in your kitchen is locked up, child safety locks, everything in the bathroom that kids are going to touch. My house, I was able to divide part of my house. So I had to let them in from a certain door because they weren't able to come into the front part of my house because that's not was part of the licensed family child care. So technically I was never allowed to have students on that side of my home. But here are the licensing capacities. So for a family child care to start, you can have up to 4 infants. So licensing considers infants up till the age of 2. So if you have 4 2-year-olds, that's all you can have in a family child care, right? Doesn't seem like a lot, but 4 up to 2-year-olds is a lot for one person. It is a lot, especially when you're talking about 6 to 18-month-olds who might still be on 2 naps a day and you're trying to coordinate all that, right? There's a lot to do with infants, right? Milk, if they're breastfeeding, depending on what age, most family child cares can be open for 6-week-old babies. I didn't want to take the responsibility of a 6-week-old baby. I chose to start at 6 months, right? You get to have that flexibility of where you want to go. If you choose to have only 2 infants, you can have up to 6 children. It says 3 infants here, but it's supposed to be 2. No more than 2 infants and 6 children. 3 after that. So same thing, you can also go up to 8 children. You can if you have 2 school age children as well. Once you've had that year of experience as a small family childcare, you can move up to having 12 children, but you must have an assistant. And again, that's where I bring up that qualified assistant just has to be 14 years of age or older, right? We are not setting that bar very high, but we want to make sure we try and have somebody that's above a middle schooler to support us with 12 children. So I never had more than 10 children, and I had 2 staff members at one point. So there were 3 of us with a day with 10 students because I wanted to give the best lowest ratio I can. And I can tell you, yes, it was challenging to pay 2 staff, but I can tell you I had the best tax return that year because it came back to me tenfold, because you pay out for all those taxes and it comes back, right? You realize you don't realize you are really making the money until you realize how much you get back at the end of the year's taxes, as that's your profit. That is your money to keep and spend. And it's pretty exciting to have that big payoff in the middle of May or in April, whenever it comes in. So these are the agreements and handbooks that I came up with myself. I'm going to show you guys through them. I already have it up, so let's see if there's this. But basically, I used the Tom Copeland books and support and created this document. I did also actually have somebody who knew how to make contracts, so I had them read it over and give some advice afterwards to make sure I was fully covered, right? This is your enrollment agreement is going to cover you for anything that happens, right? This is how you protect yourself. So you want to make sure you have somebody read it over and look to make sure, hey, am I covered for all of anything that could happen, right? In case of a tornado, the random San Diego tornadoes we get, what am I going to be responsible for? So make the parents fill this out. You talk about it. You set in, I set in a 2-week trial period, right? So no matter what, parents paid for that first 2 weeks in advance, but it was a trial period. And after that, we could say, I'm sorry, it didn't work. Because, right, I could test out the child. Maybe, they didn't fit in the program well. Maybe the parents weren't working. It was giving that opportunity, giving us both an out without having to go through some other legalese in what could go later once you've signed the contract, because they were signing a contract for a year. There's ways to terminate it, but you'd have to go through that again, just like any other contract. We would put their schedule in here. As you can see, when I first opened, it says 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. I did work on changing that throughout the years, and it got shorter and shorter, and I no longer stayed open till 6, because if you are open till 6, you are eventually open till 7, just so you know, right? And how many days a week. So, and what the tuition was going to be, if there are any additional fees. I always, right, I felt bad, but you have to protect yourself, and you go through, right, you're printing all these papers. So there was a $75 registration fee, right? That covered ink. It covered some things that would take care of those printing all the enrollment paperwork, cover maybe having some meals or diapers for the children right off the bat. I made sure I had a late tuition payments. I had a late pickup and early drop-off fee. I can tell you I had that. This is one of those ones where you really think about your policies. I would have it here. I tried to make it as best that I could, but I still never felt good enough to charge families. But I did always have it. I did say that I'd waive it 5 times. And most people, right, we could give families 5 times of being a few minutes late. It happens. But again, if it's somebody that happens it on the regular too, you have it in your contract so you can enforce it, so you can protect yourself that it doesn't happen on the regular to you, right? Because your time outside of work is just as important, right? Oh, sorry, I went a little too fast there. So then again, where it also listed in here, my holidays, vacation, and personal days. I specified different between vacation and personal days. I said, we will need to take time. We will not close for more than 2 weeks, and I will give you at least a 1 month advance notice, right? Because we don't all plan our vacations a week in advance or a year in advance. What if something comes up, right? We had to have that flexibility, and parents needed to agree to it. We also had personal days, right? I was allowed to have sick, bereavement, right? Those things. And I said, the center does not waive tuition for up to 5 personal days. So they still paid me for my sick time too, right? You get to set that rule. It is important for you to have it because your self-care is just as important as you taking care of these kids. So any other additional rules you always want to put in there that you're allowed to change anything, just as you've seen all of our syllabuses and classes, that the teacher always has the right to change the syllabus at any given time. You have that in your agreement and you have that in your handbook. That's your safety net, right? And then you have signatures where they give back to you, and you can only maybe make this waiver as a one-time agreement. You put in your safeguards into it. And then your handbook is just a little bit more detailed, right? This is something I looked at states handbooks. I looked at a variety of different handbooks. I didn't totally recreate the wheel, but this has in it my mission statement, my philosophy, where I'd go in and explain what it was that was important, relationships, the experience, attachment, right? Talk about brain development. I wanted parents to know by my handbook they were coming to just of a high quality care center as any preschool they would have gone to that gets that same kind of recognition because it's just a preschool, right? Learning through play and what that means. Talk about myself a little bit, my license information. You repeat this licensing information so many times, so you tell parents, if you have a problem, you always have this right to go to license. They don't have to come talk to you. You set that up for them so they feel supported that, hey, if they have a problem, they can go somewhere, right? It's there. I think I give it to them multiple times. We talk about being a mandated reporter. It's important for families to know that you are a mandated reporter, that you will, if you have any reasonable suspicion, you don't have to talk to them about it. You get to make that phone call. Talk about what you're going to do for employees and substitutes, right? Are you going to have a substitute come in when you have a sick day? What does that look like? Anybody who works in your home, even anybody who lives in the home, will have to be fingerprinted as well. So my husband was fingerprinted. My mom would come in and help, so she was fingerprinted. Anybody who lived in the home would be fingerprinted and well, in making sure that all of the substitutes have the qualifications that you want them to. Privacy policies, similar to any other childcare center. Do not discriminate, children with special needs. I chose to be open for children with special needs, but some providers may not be comfortable with it, right? You may not want to take children with severe allergies because you don't feel that you can handle that responsibility. And that's okay. It's okay for you to set up that boundary, right? So the rules of my home, right? That's important for families to know. They are in your home. They're in your personal space. What is important? So for me, the only rule I had was the front part remained off limits to children in my care. That was my home. I was able to come. It's actually, this part here is where I lived in and the school was on the other side. So this behind me is where I lived with my family. So right here are my holidays that we were in. I did take off the week between Christmas and New Year. I did eventually take the whole week of Thanksgiving because I started realizing I'm going to do what the school district does, right? I deserve the same breaks that school districts does. I deserve a spring break. I deserve a Christmas break. Those kinds of things, right? We are allowed to have those things, right? Next, what's most important? Parent responsibilities. I wanted parents to know what their responsibility was to our center. So I said that my relationship with them was just as important as my relationship with the child. I wanted to make sure that they knew that they could come and talk with me and how to help. I wanted them to help in the classroom, once a month. They couldn't always do that. So I made it ways like they would donate, right? Not everybody can spend time, but maybe they could donate paper plates for, an activity or whatever we need. So I did regular communications. I supported IEPs and IFSPs. I did conferences. I didn't have to, right? We don't have to be doing any kind of assessments, but I did DRDPs for my families. I would do conferences twice a year, and I did ASQs to just have them be a support the ages and stages questionnaire so that I could help parents understand their developmental areas, right? I talked about what, I'm going to keep, backup care arrangements, what supplies. So right here, I supplied diapers, wipes, rash, ointment, sunscreen. Some people may not want to put sunscreen on their kids. You don't have to do that. You can choose what you want to do. You can choose whether you administer medications, right? You can choose to whether you will be somebody who will supply EpiPens. And if not, that's okay. The only thing I said is that they needed to apply a sheet and blanket for nap time. But guess what? I always had extras, right? Because there are going to be some families that are going to miss those blankets and sheets on Mondays, right? And I asked for them to take home, right? And if they didn't, I would do the washing, right? I've washed children's clothes when we get them so messy. You take care of your family and they take care of you as well. I participated in independent care programs. So if there was family health programs within People's Works, they could get reimbursement through them. Again, here's that grievance procedure with Nancy Diaz, with the licensor. And then here's kind of, again, my policies, rules, and regulations. So I talk about the curriculum of being emergent and play-based, what assessments I use. This was a previous one when I used something called teaching strategies, but then I went back to the DRDPs because I liked it so much better. Ages and stages. I said that I don't use television at any times, and we'll do our best to keep commercial characters. We did start to use the laptop and things for purposeful education, but that's about it. We talked about birthdays. You know, what are you going to do for birthdays and holidays? What are you going to celebrate? What is your philosophy? Again, what is your why? What do you want to do? Making sure parents knew that they needed to have weather appropriate clothes. Are you going to be going outside when it rains? Do you want parents to supply that? Are you going to have extras? Those kinds of things. I talk about the food program, and here is my schedule. We serve breakfast from this time, we serve snack from this time, lunch from this time, and afternoon snack from this time. Morning snack for my kids was usually always a banana because little kids need little snacks every day. So I was usually buying 40 bananas every Sunday night. Right? And meal times will offer it, but I was telling them I can't force your child to eat. You want to set all these rules and foundations up there so parents are not surprised. So they're not going, well, why aren't you making my child eat? Why aren't you doing this? And you can say, well, I don't believe in that. This is what I believe in, and this is what I'm going to do here, right? You get to have that power. So I talk about what the difference is for nap time. No matter what, everybody was going to have a quiet time. What we do about toilet learning, right? It's not potty training, but it's toilet learning. It's learning how to use that and what that's going to look like. And it's talking about the relationship, right? It's doing it together, because what we did here had to work for what they did at home, and what they were doing at home had to work for me, right? I couldn't do the same things that they might be able to do. And so we'd have to come up with a plan that works together for all of us for the child's best needs. Talking about keeping toys, our behavior policies, right? And again, here is your sick child policy. Most centers have the 100.4. I took out the 0.4. You know why? Because I could, right? I took it out so there wasn't the question if a child had 100.2, right? If a child had 100.2 or 100.4, that child still didn't feel well. That child didn't, want to be at school. I didn't want that 0.2 to be the problem. So, right, you make sure you can withhold these rules and regulations, right? Again, full 24 hours. Again, what happens if they become ill during the day? And a lot of this, again, I didn't reinvent the wheel. I took a lot of the same language from many other childcare centers, right? Because this would be a lot to help reinvent the wheel, but you don't have to. Talking about administering medications, right? It's just about what you feel comfortable with. Because, as you get to emergencies, pets, right? I had pets on center. I had dogs, I had cats, and I had a tortoise and a bunny. The kids interacted with all of them, right? The dogs are a big risk, but my dogs, they were gated up. They didn't just roam free, but the kids have access to the bunny and the tortoise all the time, right? But I believe the importance of having these relationships, right? The kids were able to feed the dogs. They were able to grow that. And we were able to help, support children to learn how to interact with things that they might be scary for them in their outside world. Right? Talked about other health and safety issues. And again, then the parents at the end, really important, you keep this in their file that they've all signed it, because that's going to protect you too. Again, you want to think the best of people, right? But you're taking strangers into your home. You need to protect yourself. If anybody comes after you, you can say, well, you signed this page and you knew this is what was going to happen, right? It's about you, because the number one thing is, are you ready for the responsibility? So, right, we talk about the health and safety. Are you ready for those children to be in your care and taking care of them? I know we got like 2 minutes, so I'm going to keep going fast right here. The repairs and maintenance, as I said, again, meals, the food program, all those things coming in. Are you responsible for the staff? Are you ready for being there all the time, taking care of them, scheduling them on top of your other duties, right? What happens when they call out sick, and all those things that you don't really realize about you're going to have with staff? What are your ratios going to be? Taxes, right? Quarterly taxes. Are you remembering to pay that? Are you remembering to put in money and save money away? When parents give you, checks of cash, right? You have to remember to take the taxes out of it. You have to remember to do all these things and finding the work for you. But really, the running of the day-to-day, I want you to understand it's going to be stressful. How are you going to deal with that stress management? How are you going to deal with, sometimes it can be isolating. You are home alone for possibly 8 to 10 hours a day, and the only people you have to talk to are 18-month-olds, right? It can get lonely day after day. So what does that look like for you? What kind of support do you have to make sure you take care of yourself? That's why I stress about those policies and procedures. That 6 o'clock is your time, because I wanted to hit the gym at 6:05, right? I needed that time to get out of my day and be able to have that information. So real quickly, I'll go through the things, not like I haven't really been talking all the things I've learned throughout this whole time, but set your boundaries. I mean, I did work 60-hour work weeks. If you're open for, from 8 to 6, that's almost a 10-hour day. Then you're you're cleaning, you're doing prep, you're doing all that stuff, right? Think about your time. I was at IKEA every freaking weekend for the first 2 years because that's what it was like, right? I knew I needed to get supplies and that's where it was. So that was my weekends, grocery shopping, all those things, right? I was saying, you want to be open till 7 p.m., right? I had a family member who got stuck in traffic for an hour. What do? You can't just send the kid home. So I fed the kid dinner, right? I had to sit and then do that. What is that going to look like? Because the investment, the financial investment that you're going to put into it, it's your home, your repairs, the emotional investment, right? You love these kids, you love these families. You need to make sure you have those support systems and you're setting those boundaries, because this relationship business, the relationships that can get crossed, right? You're having people in your home, you're taking care of their children, you're loving on this wonderful relationship. There can get blurriness with how you deal with it, because you do become friends with these people. I can tell you, I am still close to all those people in those pictures. They are some of my best friend kids. I see them still every weekend. But as that person that was their friend, I still have had to keep my mouth very quiet, because I know so much about their families or their children and things. So it does change who you are in that relationship when you are interacting on that friend zone. So just know that that can be there, right? Stand by your policies. I am saying we are now like in a family child care provider market, right? We have the control. It's the buyer or it's the seller's market, right? In real estate, we are the ones in control. There are so many people needing childcare right now that we are in desperate need. I think over like 60% of family childcare is closed down during the pandemic. And I think maybe 20% have opened back up, if that, right? There are grants out there to help get this stuff going on. I believe with the policies, Lisa Murphy, I went to one of her seminars very early on, and she told me a story about how when you are enrolling a family, if they don't feel comfortable giving you a key to their house, you should not take their child, because their child is way more important than their house, right? And if they're not comfortable with you just having a key to their house just because, then they're probably not going to be comfortable with you really taking care of their child in the way that you would like to. So thinking about those kinds of things, what are you able to stand up for in your policies and beliefs? And with the goodbyes, I had parents take advantage of me many times. They withdrew and then wanted to come back, and when I couldn't offer care, they would go off on me, right? So you have to have that tough skin to know that you are making the choices that are right for you, right? Tax deductions are your friends. I've talked a lot about that. Learn your loopholes. Go to a specific tax prep guide, because again, you may not see the money every month. You will see it at the end. IKEA's garage sales, free resources, OfferUp, Facebook, Buy Nothings, Friends, Amazon. Those will be your supports for toys, resources, anything that you need. I used food delivery very early on before the pandemic. Food delivery was a thing. Don't trust it. I had Vons be like, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't have any of your proteins on Sunday at 6 p.m. Well, guess what I had to do at 8 p.m. on Sunday? Go out to a grocery store because I needed to have food. Always have a backup, right? Amazon delivery did it to me multiple times too. And they're like, did we solve your problem by rebating your money? And I'm like, no, I have 10 children I need to feed and I can't leave. What am I going to do, right? Those kinds of things you have to prepare for. You're going to be comfortable with everything. You are going to be, if you are running a family childcare, you will have children going to the bathroom or coming into the bathroom while you are going into the bathroom. It's unavoidable. You have to be careful. You have to just know they're going to be exposed everywhere you're at. Just be ready for it and be okay and be silly and fun. And the best part is, most of the time, family childcares are for young children, and you're teaching them potty training, right? You're teaching them, you're showing them just as their parents do. And you can do it in a very healthy way, but that's part of the growth, right? Don't be afraid to grow, adapt, and change. I call it the Disneyland fishbowl. When you're at my center, you want to feel like you are at the center for a child. You can't see the outside world. The children know what it's there, and be comfortable with changing the environment, right? Always thinking about what could be different. Being behavioral challenges come because the environment stays stagnant, right? So as the children are growing and changing, adapt yourself, right? And and always remember your why. My why is here. This is me hugging my tree. I created in my school, I had a corner and I grew out of, not construction paper, but butcher paper. I rolled up a tree. And so it went onto the ceiling and everything. And the tree was very symbolic for me. So when I had to take it down, when we finally redid our house, this was me crying with it. And it's my favorite picture because it is my why, right? I wanted this place for children to grow and be and have a place that was just for them. And I know that's what I gave them. And I'm going to leave you guys with this quote: when a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment in which it grows, not the flower. And that is what we have that ability to do in early childhood. We are about environments. We are about relationships. We can't expect a sunflower to grow in the middle of winter in Alaska, but we can then fix that environment to be able to support them, right? We're going to help these kids grow in their environment. So that's kind of it. If you want to ask some questions, I'm going to kind of play a video. It's a 5-minute video, and I know I've gone over time, and I apologize. So I know people might have to go, but we can talk while I'm playing this video. But this is, I created yearbooks for my families at the end of every year. And so this is just a little video of it going through, and you can see what I started with, barely 2 kids, 2 to 3 kids, 2 kids for our first month, right? And then you'll see as I grew and grew, right? Little things, boxes, free materials. I was a very art-based program, right? I wanted to capture the joy of children's play and let parents see the joy of what they were learning. And I believed pictures did that. So I had pictures everywhere. And even when I was closing my school, my daughter drew a picture on the window of me. And she goes, "Look, Mommy, that's you." And she drew a camera around my neck. And she's like, and so kids would draw pictures of me with my camera on me. And that's how they identified me, because they knew I was taking pictures of them learning. So it always made me happy to know this and to see them. So there we go. If you guys have any questions, I didn't really get to see too much of it. I didn't have my chat up. So let me know if there's any questions anybody has. But other than that, thank you.
Thank you so much, Carlee. Wow, what a hour full of information. I know I had, I'm in awe with the information and experience that you have. We did have a couple of our friends here that wanted to know if you were going to share the PowerPoint or the documents that you have in the PowerPoint. I think we talked about it before. You're going to, I don't know what you're going to do, but you can send it to me. And then I can ship that out. So please remember, in the chat box, there's a survey. That's where I'm going to get in contact with you with the emails, along with the professional development, that if you are registered in the registry, that's how I'm going to get a hold of you, along with your certificate. So don't forget to fill that survey out so I can get in contact with you with this fantastic information that we got today. Carlee, wow, we can go on for another hour and a half, 2 hours with picking your brain, I'm sure. So thank you so much for coming in. Do you have an email address that people can contact you in? Maybe you can drop it in.
I'm going to throw that in the chat right now. I realized
that would be amazing. I know some people have to go. So if you need to go, please don't be, we won't take any offense. But if you want to stick back, I do have a couple of questions that are in the chat maybe. And this is recorded as well. And so contact us and we can let you know about that. And don't forget to fill out the survey. The Carlee's emails in the chat box. And so Carlee, if it's okay to ask a couple questions.
Yeah, go for it.
In the chat, let's see. Let's see. To go back a little bit. Let's see. What would you do differently if you knew you had to do it all over again starting your career or your center?
Set better boundaries. I mean, that was the point I think I'm just trying to make, is really setting the boundaries. Like I said, I didn't make it work for me at first. I accommodated everything for parents because I wanted to get people in, and I lost myself in it. And so, it makes it challenging, right? I mean, my daughter, she's peeking in right here. I had her while I was, a couple of years into the school. And this is the boundaries, right? She was born on a Sunday. A Monday was President's Day holiday. I was open for families on Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't physically in the classroom, but that's still what it was. I had people in my home while, I never got a maternity leave. I didn't get those things. She came into the classroom with me around 3 weeks old, right? Those kinds of things. So that's what I would do. I think I would make it really just look at what was right for me and my family at that point. I mean,
and it's just so hard as educators, right? Because you just want to make sure that everybody's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we're caregivers, right?
Yeah,
but we care. Exactly. We want to say yes. We know that parents are stressed, right? We know that parents have challenges, and we want to be able to not let the children have that in there. And so we're always willing to say yes, but it comes at a price for us.
Yes, for sure.
And I think if I could do anything again, I guess it would be, I was lucky enough to be able to redo my environment at a certain point, but it'd probably be redoing and getting outside faster, being able to spend more time outside.
Yeah. Did you put your budget, salary for yourself? Did you have a budget for yourself?
I did not budget a salary in for myself. I was a sole proprietor first. I didn't become an LLC, right? All that legal part of it, I was really scared to deal with. I just wanted to start. I just felt like I need to start and get people in. So, it was a sole proprietor. I'm sorry, and can you repeat the question again? I want to make sure I covered.
Did you put your budget?
Yeah. So no, that's what I was saying. No. I didn't. Yes. Wasn't able to pay for myself because really, the money that was coming in was mine. The money that you're getting from that families is yours. So I would budget, but I would put out the money for taxes, right? You get that profit. And as long as you pay your taxes, and as long as you know what you're once you get through that first year, if you work with a tax person, you will have a good estimated what you'll pay quarterly. And as long as you're meeting that, anything else you have in the bank is your profit, right? And it took me a while to realize that. I held on to everything, but you do see it. So, right, I wasn't necessarily making $2,000 every month,
right?
But I didn't need to pay for my groceries. My rent was getting paid out of my rent was being paid for by the students' fees, right?
Right.
And then that was tax deductible. So those kinds of things help tie in, technically with the food program, you were supposed to throw the leftovers away from what the children ate. I didn't do that, right? I wasn't going to waste that food. So I did have some meals after that, right? So my groceries were cut down, right? There are these little loopholes that you find that can support you. So you don't have to really be like, I need to make this much money every month.
Right.
You need to only in the budget for what you do need to survive as a business.
Yeah. This was actually shocking for me. The 14-year-old being your assistant, do they need to have a work permit of any kind to be?
I do not believe a work permit. They just have to be or fingerprinted.
Wow, that is something.
Yes.
How did you create your yearbook? Is there a software that you use for your yearbook?
Shutterfly. Oh, I can actually, Shutterfly. I would spend most of my Thanksgiving break putting together the book, and Shutterfly would just be really great. It's gotten even better over time. I had also ShareSite from Shutterfly where I would take every week the pictures I would took, and I would share it with the family so that they had access to everything that I had. And I mean, the feedback that I've gotten was, we only have pictures of our kid as a baby because they were at your school, right? These parents have taken their pictures themselves and kept them because I've documented their life. I understand the importance of documenting. So having this, I didn't realize how value would be to me until now when I have all this back on to look on in the documentation, because it really is, you are able to see children learning when you see these pictures. Just one picture of their hands in flubber. You don't even have to see their face, but you can see the fine motor skills. You can see the cognitive skills. You can see all of that through that picture. And I wanted to make sure parents that's the way they could be involved.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
We were able to do some videos too, but now, I mean, it's so much easier on certain social media. I never had an Instagram page. I did have my hashtag where play becomes real, but my Instagram was private. So it was still, I didn't feel comfortable enough, but I did have a photo release for all parents. So my parents know that these photos that I was taking were my photos and I could use them for advertising and all this. So they did sign their photos away to me. I make a joke now that any child that's successful, whether in sports, acting, anything, that there's a Miss Carlee clause in their contracts that like I get free games to like, I get to go to any free game or anything because, you know, I helped raise them in early childhood, build their brain, right?
Yeah.
So, and I will say this is, my husband brought it up yesterday. I will say one of my students is actually making it in the film industry. He was the voice of one of the Chip or Dale from the new Rescue Ranger movies. His name is Mason Bloomberg. He was with me and he's doing some other things, but he is actually doing that. And so we talk about it. It's because the care that he got here was allowing him to be able to live out those passions already. We have another child who's an expert disc golfer and about to go at 8 years old to the world championships. And all he could do as a baby, he couldn't walk, but he could throw. And I let him just throw, right? Wow. I gave into those skills that they had, right? I never saw the deficits. I saw the strengths and allowed them to build those skills.
Wow.
So yeah, I get free. I was like, I'll take my free Padres tickets for anyone who becomes a Padres.
There you go. Right? Yeah, it should be definitely in there. For
sure. You get, right? You may not make a lot of money, but you can set in these perks for yourself.
Hey, the little perks, they add up. One of them was, where was your center located? Where
I live about a mile down south of SDSU. So I'm in the College Rolando area. Yeah. So just look up.
Yeah. Did you keep a separate bank account for your business?
Yes, I did. I opened up even in a separate bank. I had my personal stuff was in Chase and all of my business stuff was in Bank of America. And I did have a separate business account that I would use and keep that separate because it does help.
So your center is no longer, unfortunately, right, as of now. But I mean, one of the students here is, do you need someone to work? So if you were to open up another facility, I think you have fans already here. And so yeah, this person is, I'm going to take a class which needs to work at a child care center for certain hours. Do you need someone to work? So you already have a fan.
We do need people to work at the Miramar Child Development Center. So that's where I'm at right now. So please, if you are interested in wanting a job at the Child Care Center, we take part-time students. Please send me your information at that email and we can get you working on hiring for the fall. We are starting that already. So yes.
Yeah.
No, I have, trust me. Doing these workshops and sharing my things again, there's that inkling in the back of my head to be like, could I do it again? But again, I have to think about how to make it work for me and what I want to do with it. So yeah, but it is, like I said, you guys, it's very worthwhile. You will have a lot of fun. You will grow. Like there's nothing better than knowing, okay, I just got to get out of bed and go to work, right? And be there and just be present. And it never mattered what I looked like. It never mattered anything. We were just there having fun. And that's what I wanted them to know, that they could come home and I would say yes to everything.
Yes. Well, I think unless there's some people here, if they want to ask questions, that's I have for the chat. If you have any questions, you can definitely voice them or put them in the chat. Other than that, that's it. I'm going to put the survey link again in the chat box just in case. So make sure you fill that out. Have any questions, just let us know. We have more workshops coming along with more entrepreneurs like Carlee, and so please be on the lookout for that. Thank you so much for coming in, everyone, and hope this inspired me for this entrepreneurship workshop. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. And please reach out if you need anything, any support, any help, any problem, just want to brainstorm some things. I'm definitely always willing to talk early childhood with anybody.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.